What is up, YouTube? This is X, and we are back with a One Piece chapter 1061 review, The Future Island Egghead. This was a great chapter on my initial reaction, and it felt like those pre-time skip chapters when we're first introduced to a new island. I'm just getting a lot of good vibes from this. And honestly, I'm getting, believe it or not, I'm getting like Zoe vibes. I feel like this arc that we're getting into is going to be feel like a Zoe arc where it sets up. We're not here for a very long time, but it sets up a key story slash plot point going into the further arcs. I'll talk about this later on in the review, but without further ado, let's get right into the review. So we start off where we left off in a previous chapter, where Luffy is extending his arm to reach for Chopper and save Chopper and the child that is revealed to be Bonney. And Luffy's successful in his attempt in doing so, and Bonney is saying something to Luffy and Chopper and the rest of the Straw Hats. And the Straw Hats are on the ship trying to make out what she's saying. And she's saying, "Oh, is that machine still after me? I think she says shark, is the shark still after me?" And we get this awesome panel of a shark that is humongous, like a, what is it, a megalodon, like with his jaws facing up, about to engulf the Sunny Go. And the Straw Hats take notice, and the Sunny is able to make a quick escape. And the shark comes out the water. We see that it looks like a robot. Well, it is a robot, a mechanized shark robot. We don't know if it's like a android, or if it's just like there's still like shark flesh in there, but it's also a cyborg. We don't know all the details on that, but it's safe to assume, honestly, it's a cyborg. And we also see some numbers on it, and that gives us the inclination that it's man-made or something, just like how Frankie's inventions are man-made, and whatnot. So we see the shark attempt to destroy the Straw Hat ship. Oh, that's my dog over there making the noise. We see the shark attempted to destroy the Straw Hat ship, and the Sunny is able to escape. The shark goes back into the water, and the Sunny's using a new invention that Frankie has, Rabbit Scoop, which is just like a small propeller that propels the shark, propels the Sunny forward. So it's similar to Coup Burst, but on a much smaller scale, just to skim through the water. And the shark is opening its jaws, and it's launching torpedoes. So this is definitely a cyborg shark. Launching torpedoes, hits the Sunny, and it capsizes the ship. Ship is sinking. The shark then turns his attention back to Luffy and the rest of the crew, and Jinbei is making his way towards Luffy, Chopper, and Bonney. And Jinbei's successful in getting them, but the shark is launching his torpedoes at them, so Jinbei has to dive even further into the depths of the water to escape the shark. And the shark even turns back to the sinking capsized Sunny Go with the rest of the Straw Hats on it. And as soon as it's about to kill its prey, we see another Mechazord, another Gundam, come through and just give it the 1-2 and knocks out the shark. And the Straw Hats are like, what the hell is going on? And we can see that on this Gundam, this mecha, we see Vega Force. And from then, we know that this island, or this robot right here, it all relates to Vegapunk. So it seems like all creations of Vegapunks are going to have the prefix Vega. So we know that it's some type of man-made creation applied to a living being, or any invention in general. Similar to how Frankys as well. And I like how there's like the stars on there. This like on I think the stars are robot, and definitely on the Gundam, the mecha, we have the stars, and it shows like Vegapunk's influence on Franky. Like when we go back to the pre-time skip reveals of the Straw Hats, Franky has the stars on his like elbow joints, and I think his chest as well. So it shows like Vegapunk's influence on Franky and his invention. And it just seems like Franky, even though Franky's a great inventor, builder, engineer, oh man, Vegapunk's the real deal. So that was pretty much the first part of this chapter. The next part, we are introduced to a nearby island that houses the G14 Navy admirals. And the first panel we see is familiar faces from Punk Hazard. We see the kids that the Straw Hat saved from Caesar on his gigantification experiments. And we see Tashigi, super interesting. Because I don't know, when was the last time we saw her? Probably Punk Hazard or on a cover page. Probably leaving Punk Hazard to go see Vegapunk. But I'm surprised she's still there, to be honest. Anyway, we see Tashigi talking to the kids, telling them to take their medicine. And we are introduced to a multitude of new Admiral characters. The first being Doll. Doll is a vice admiral, and she's telling Tashigi, hey, you need to talk to Helmeppo. You need to tell him to chill. I'm like, Helmeppo, what's going on? Then we pan to Helmeppo and Hibari. And so Helmeppo is a captain lieutenant, and Hibari is she's a captain as well. I believe the same on Koby's level. And they are pleading on their knees to beg the Marines to go and invade Beehive Island, Philolet Island, where Blackbeard is homed. And we see them pleading to Prince Groose or Gross. I don't know how to specifically pronounce it. And it's kind of interesting how they're like pleading and bowing to this rear admiral, Prince Groose, which is interesting because he was the one who was actually on the cover story for Capone Beige when Lola and Chiffon met up. He was the one that actually took out, and I believe he captured Chiffon, but he was able to capture Chiffon and whatnot. But anyway, it's just interesting how they're pleading to him. He has the title Prince, so I don't know if he's actually a prince. I think he has some type of royalty to him, and they're pleading to him. He's saying, no, we can't invade that island. Do you know that's Blackbeard? And are you insane? Drake, we still haven't heard from Drake. It's kind of interesting how they haven't heard from Drake and Wano's fully over. So what happened to Drake? Did this man just die? Like with Hawkins? Because I feel like everyone pretty much made it out. Even like Kaido's the Toby Ropo made it out safely as well. So that's kind of an interesting thread that's still left hanging. So we'll see. Maybe Drake is still alive, but he ran into another circumstance that derailed him from reuniting with the rest of the Navy admirals, the rest of the Marines on this Navy base. But pretty interesting stuff. So Helmeppo wants to deploy a Seraphim with them to go invade that island, and that is like out of the question. So I feel like this is just, why is Oda introducing all these new admirals? I mean, all these new Marine characters to us. There has to be some importance to introducing these characters to the story. And also, take note that we don't see who's in charge of G14, which was Smoker, I believe. We don't see Smoker. And maybe Smoker is currently with Vegapunk right now. That'll be interesting, and that can somehow save the Straw Hats from getting in trouble. We'll see. But I just feel like Oda introducing these new Marines characters is leading to a bigger story point going forward. I think that maybe Helmeppo is going to theory time. I think maybe Helmeppo is going to try to take a Seraphim, and he's going to see Luffy and Zoro captured on Vegapunk's island, and he's going to inform them that Koby has been kidnapped. Now, hearing the news of Koby being kidnapped from the Straw Hat perspective, Luffy's going to want to say, oh, I'm pulling up to Philolet Island right now. And honestly, I think we're getting Blackbeard versus Luffy soon. Maybe part one. There are probably going to be multiple parts, but I think we're getting Blackbeard versus Luffy soon. And I think Blackbeard may not even be at Philolet. Like other Titanic captains may be there. I think Luffy may just pull up, do his damage or whatever, Just like how Blackbeard pulled up to Baltigo and did his damage, but Dragon was there. So I don't know. Like Luffy may pull up and Blackbeard's not there because he has his other agenda. But maybe this is the point where we find out that Caribou is part of. He's like the 10th Titanic captain of BB's ship, BB's crew. So maybe that's how we get the conclusion of Caribou's side story of him like tagging along with the Straw Hats. We'll see. We'll see. That'll give us confirmation that he's the person that Caribou has been dying to speak to. But I feel like I just want to highlight that these characters, these Marine characters, are introduced for a specific reason to the greatest story of One Piece. Or I don't know, knowing Oda, he probably just needed to introduce like just Helmeppo and like his story, his character development to get Koby essentially. So we'll see. Moving on, we pan back to Luffy, Jinbei, Chopper, and Bonney, and they're on the shoreline in this small cave, and they're rescued. And Bonnie's saying, "Hey, why don't you remember me? We're part of the same worst generation, etc." And Luffy refers to her as Bogey, which is standard Luffy character interaction stuff here. And she brings up his Gear 5 form, and I like how Oda draws Luffy like he's not in Gear 5, but he draw his whole character attire and whatnot as Gear 5. I think that was like a really nice touch. And Luffy says that's when he's the freest. Really great stuff there. And Bonney informs us that we are on the island Egghead, and that Bonney has business with Vegapunk, and that just leads us to think, what is this business that she has with Vegapunk? And honestly, it's safe to assume that it's with Kuma, compared to like how at the end of the Marineford War that we saw Bonney crying when she was looking at the TV screen. She saw her crying, and at first we thought, back in the day, people were theorizing, oh, it was Ace, it was Whitebeard, etc. But it turned out to be Kuma, and Kuma and her are from the same kingdom. So it seems like she has beef with Vegapunk that she needs to address about Kuma. And honestly, I feel like there's more to it. We just don't know everything. So we're going to get that revelation later on in this arc. And we'll see. So they're going to, I like how they're separated. And so they're going to make their way towards Vegapunk. And like the Straw Hats are already going to be there. This is just pre-time skip-esque story events that's happening every time. Like, it just feels so nostalgic to me. I don't know why. It feels good. It feels like One Piece back in the day. Next, we pan back to the Straw Hat ship being carried by the Gundam, the Mecha, the Vegaforce Mecha, and the Straw Hats are just in awe, thankful that they were saved by this machine. And Frankie's looking up. He says thank you, and it's revealed that the person who's inside this mecha is none other than Vegapunk herself. Yes, herself. And I was completely shocked that Vegapunk is a woman and is a baddie. So honestly, I don't think this is really Vegapunk, truthfully. It could be a multitude of things, right? It could be this is a relative of Vegapunk, where like this could be his daughter, his niece, except his granddaughter, etc. And she just goes by Vegapunk just because she has that lineage. Or, which I'm more inclined to believe, I think this is a clone, because we've seen Vegapunk utilize his clones with the Seraphims. We've seen him utilize the clones with Kuma. I think it's a clone that he used with the lineage factor, because he probably perfected it better than what Judge does in Gurma 66. I think it's a clone that he was able to put his own lineage factor in, that's able to like think just like him and be as smart as Vegapunk. And honestly, what if Vegapunk, like this is so genius, truthfully. What if Vegapunk has a multitude of clones of himself and they work on different projects? Just like how Rick and Morty, which is a great show. Rick, there's like the Council of Ricks, and they're like all from different dimensions. But what if this man Vegapunk just has his own clones, his own set of clones, and they work on different projects. That's why he's able to invent so many things. Um, that would be godly, honestly. That is like some godly activity right there. I'm inclined to think it's that, or it's like a cyborg Vegapunk that he's able to put his conscience in. It's something along those realms because in previous chapters we've heard that Vegapunk, we've seen that Vegapunk's referred to as a man, a he, an older man at that. So we'll see. I don't think this is the original Vegapunk. And we also see on this baddie Vegapunk that it's O2. So this might be his second clone. Maybe he's O1. I don't know. But this is the second clone. I don't know. We'll see. But there's just great implications to this chapter. And honestly, I'm just getting a lot of Zoe vibes from this chapter, the way this started, and the significance that it has for the rest of the arcs going forward. So I think that is it for me. Great chapter. Otherwise, I'm really excited for what's going forward and what's coming in this upcoming arc, and I just can't wait for it. So without further ado, that is all I have for you today. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and let me know how I can interact with you guys more. Thank you for spending your time with me, and peace.